manager, so I have the whole menu available to me. The bottom three menus are the PPS1 menus, and I deliberately took out the production menu of Business One Standard because we're not using the production functionality of Business One for one simple reason that we extend the Business One production functionality with capacity and operations. So we have all that available in PPS1. Well, to start working with PPS1, there are basically three things that need to be defined in order for PPS1 to know what's going on in the system. And the three questions are: when am I able to produce? Where am I producing? And what do I produce? So if we come to the first question, that will be when am I able to produce? That will be defined in the calendars of PPS, in the factory calendars. So the first level, the factory calendar, is a way of PPS to know what days in the year are working days and what days in the year are non-working days. So you predefine all the years in PPS in the calendars, and you can see per date you indicate it's a working or a non-working day. As you can see, the column of weekdays are in Dutch, and that's taken from the operating system that that system is running on. So I'm running on a Dutch Windows Vista version. We can see that all the weekdays are working days and all the weekends are off. So this is basically the definition of the first level. So the days are working or non-working days. The second level we have is to define if a day is a working day, how many of those 24 hours are available for production. And that's where we come in with the different work hour models or shift plans. And if I open a single shift right here, then we can see that I put in the working times. So in this single shift, we start working at 8 o'clock in the morning until noon, and then again from 1 p.m. until 5 p.m., which gives us a total of 8 hours a day. So in a single shift, out of the 24 hours in a working day, 8 hours are capacity. And with that, the first question basically has been answered. And the next question that I was referring to was, where are we producing? So we're coming in with the definition of the cost centers. And the cost centers in PPS are the work centers. And work centers, they can be machines, they can be machine groups, they can be persons, or they can be a team of persons. So as example, I will open here, in this case, the cutting machine. And in the work center, we are to define different things. For example, the capacity type. So the machine is either working against available or against unlimited resources. Available resources means that it works as actual capacity center, so the system will plan the capacity of that machine. Unlimited resources mean that no matter how many hours of operations there are planned, the machine can handle it. This is a typical example for external manufacturing or subcontracting. Then the cost center type has to be defined. In this case, it's an internal machine. Other options are external. Here is the subcontracting again. We can work with the so-called scheduling cost center, basically meaning that if there's a person around that manages multiple machines at the same time, then the machine might be available, but the person might not be available. So in that case, the person on the shop floor is then the scheduling cost center or the planning cost center. So PPS knows that it has to look at the capacity of the person and not at the capacity of the machine. And then, of course, the machine group. This will group several similar machines together, and PPS during planning will know or will see which machine has either the fastest running time, so will be the first done with the operation, and has capacity available. Then on to the time factors on the machines. We're assigning a default working time model, a default shift plan, and in this case it's 8 hours for the single shift. And on top of that, we have some percentages ready if you want to capture unproductive times during the shift, like lunch breaks or all that kind of stuff. So to give you an example, if I have a single shift with 8 hours and the capacity utilization percentage is 50%, that means that I have 4 effective hours left, and the other 2 rates do exactly the same. On the tab documents, you will see a tab documents throughout the whole PPS system, and we're able to assign all kinds of documents to the objects. So the documents could be Office documents, they can be PDF files, they can be drawings, and it's a simple assignment on a base directory on the server that has been made. Then on the Employees tab, in case we're defining a kind of department, you are able to assign employees that are managed by the human resource functionality of Business One with the PPS cost center. And that means that whenever a person through the administration of the human resources is absent, sickness or holidays, then at that same moment PPS will recalculate the capacity of the machine or the department that that person is assigned to. Then if we look at the cost rates, here are the hourly rates defined of the machine. We have 2 hourly rates. One is the fixed cost rate and the other one is the limit cost rate. This is just for the product calculation, and that product calculation is also available from the quotation phase in Business One. So whenever you do a product calculation from the quotation, that means that you immediately see what the so-called break-even cost of a product is. So you can define a very nice sales price for that product then. With that second question, then the last question is still open, and the last question is, what are we producing? And that is being defined in PPS through the reference operation sets. And the reference operation set in PPS is basically a combination of a bill of material and the bill of labor as we know it from Business One. And the nice thing about that is that in PPS we are able to create different versions of a bill of material for every item master in Business One. So in this case, for this product, we are able to define different versions, different routings for technically the same product. So in this case, it will cover the version management of your bill of materials and bill of labors. If I open one example here, so we can see that different information can be assigned to the reference operation set. So we have a project number, which is managed by Business One as well. We have drawing number, drawing index. And again, here we can see the different documents that we can assign. So that could be any picture or PDF file. And those documents can also be printed during the production order stage. Then we look at the bill of material, which is basically the same as the one in Business One. So it's the material positions in a row, the quantity needed per reference factor of the product that is available. Next to the bill of material, we have the work items, the bill of labor. And in the bill of labor, we see again the machines that we have defined, the setup times in hours, the run times in hours, and the reference factors again. So with the combination of the bill of material and the bill of labor, PPS is able to calculate the running time of a production order later on. And then again, we have some general parameters. We can release a reference operation set for production. We can block it. Or if we use the CAD interface, the import function from a CAD system in PPS, then the bill of materials are automatically set to CAD on design until they are properly managed. So this was basically the answering of the last question. And when all those questions have been answered, there are several other functionalities that are available. For example, we have a parts were used list. And in this parts were used list, we can simply look up some material component and let the system find out in which bill of materials this component is being used. And on top of that, we will be able to replace that component in multiple bill of materials with another component at the same time. So there's no need to manually go through several bill of materials to make exchanges on material component level. Then from costing point of view, there are two different ways of looking at the costs, and the first one is the structure piece list cost. I've prepared a multi-level structure in the system, and if we look top down from the multi-structure level, we can see that this product here has a maximum of 3 levels, and on all the 3 levels we can see the materials that are needed in those levels, and the system will show the material costs and the labor cost of the structure. So we come to a complete cost of the product 751 for the product that I'm going to take through the presentation. This is one way of looking at the costing of an item. The other way is the so-called pre-calculations based on lot sizes. So if I put in different lot sizes for the product, just put in some numbers here, and it will let the system calculate the lot sizes through the complete structure, then we will see that based on the lot size, the limited cost, the break-even cost, and the full cost will differ. So you can see exactly, based on different lot sizes, what your product price in that batch would be. So if you only would have produced one, it would be 751. But if you would produce a batch of 20, the unit price would be 411. On top of that, you can put in an absolute value on overhead or 2 percentages to come from production price to a quotation price or a sales price. So we have looked at the basics of PPS, how to build the system up. Now we're going to do a flow through Business One and PPS to show some other functionalities. I start in the sales area at the sales order, and we typically put in a sales order here for a customer. So we're moving around in the Business One standard here. I put in the item, just pick the product that we had before, and I'll put in 7 pieces. So this is still Business One standard. In a make-to-stock environment, I would simply add the sales order to the system, and I'll let MRP of Business One take care of the rest. In case we have a make-to-order environment, we basically start from the sales order, and we will create production orders directly from here. So this basically means that from the sales order, I'm going to let PPS create multiple production orders for this sales order. And with multiple, that means that PPS is able to create production order for every structure level, for every subassembly that belongs to this product. So I could either make to order only the top level and use the rest for MRP, or I can let PPS create a complete production order structure for this item. And then I will auto-create those production orders. So at this point in time, PPS will create the production orders. It will simultaneously plan them against the available capacity that is available in the system. And the nice thing of that is that since we have created production orders from the sales order, the production orders are all linked together, and then again they are linked to the sales order. So whenever I need to have some more information about the production side of a sales order, I simply move to the production order list. And the production order list lists up all the production orders that are somehow linked to this single sales order. So we can see that PPS has created 3 different production orders, every of a level, for this sales order. I can select them and have a graphical overview on how they are scheduled. So we have the same information of the production orders again. We have the customer assigned to it, starting date, ending date. And on that point aside, we can see how the sub-assemblies are scheduled on the timeline. So whenever the customer rings up and wants to have some detailed information about his production orders or about his product that he ordered, you can simply look at different informations directly from the sales order. So I'm navigating into the work progress now. So for all the production orders that are linked to his demand, we can see the different operations. And by color, we can see what the status of the operation is. So we can see that the production quantity is 7, but the actual produced quantity is still 0. So nothing has started yet. And all that information is changed during the production of the product. I'm going to move back to the PPS menu to look from the planning side to things. And basically there are two main important things when it comes to planning. First of all, the planner wants to know if all the materials that are needed for production are available at the right time. And the second step is that he wants to know if he has any bottlenecks in capacity. Well, the first step is again the material check from the production order list. So for the same filter that we used earlier based on the sales order number, the planner only wants to have a material check. So he only wants to have a list of the production orders that have some kind of material shortage. And he will look at those orders. So in this case, the system indicates that any of the orders, all of them, have some kind of material shortage. So he can dive into the production order specifically. And from this production order, he can have a detailed overview of what kind of shortage he has. So if he moves into material shortage from here, the system is able to list him all the materials that are short. And from this production order, you're not only able to look one level down, you can even look 3 levels down to the substructures as well if there are any materials short. And I only want to look at the materials that are short. And I let the system find out what is short. So we can see that in the whole structures, these materials are short, the time that it is required, the shortfall quantities being displayed and calculated, and also the supplier number is indicated. Now then again, from here you can go two different ways. Either you use the standard MRP again to take care of those shortages, but in some environments, users like to use the purchase to order functionality. So in that case, you will simply select a line and create a business one purchase order from this. And then we're back in the business one standard again. Then apart from the material shortage, a planner would also like to check on capacity bottlenecks. And the capacity bottlenecks can be viewed at in PPS using the performance profile. And the performance profile basically gives you an overview from a range of machines and 4 different periods that are defined. And it will graphically show you any problems that occur. So what we see here is in the 4 periods that we have defined, we have a selection of 3 colors to display. First of all, red indicates that you have a planning problem because the fully capacity in this period of the cutting machine is 40 hours, but the system has scheduled 51 hours in that period. Well, this is because I manually prepared the system beforehand that it would indicate for a bottleneck, because standard PPS will make only yellow colors. PPS will make sure that every machine will be handled from 100%, and every red area basically can only be created by manually shifting operations. That means that green areas are okay, yellow areas are fully scheduled machines, and red areas are problems. Now there's a way of looking inside such an area to look what operations are in there. So just by clicking on the graph, the system will give you an overview of all the operations on the cutting machine that are somehow in this machine area. So we can see that in this case 5 operations are there, and on that kind of side, on the right hand side, we can see how they are scheduled in the timeline. To get rid of the bottleneck, there are basically 2 options. The first option is increase capacity for the cutting machine in this period, which we're going to do first. So what I would like to do, I would like to give more than 40 hours in this week. So I move to the cutting machine, and from the cutting machine I'm going to actualize the capacity calendar of that machine. So I'm going to actualize the calendar, and from the 9th until the 15th of February, I know that this machine has a single shift, and on every weekday or working day in that period, I would like to change the shift to a double shift. And I would like to update that for my cutting machine. So I start the update, and the system has immediately increased the capacity in that period. So whenever I look back onto my graph and I simply refresh it, then the change that I made in capacity should be immediately visible. So it's recalculating and recreating the graph based on the actual capacity that we've just changed. And after finishing, we see that I now have 60 hours available instead of 40. So with my 51 effective utilization, I'm in the green area again. Another option would be by manually moving out operations from this area, from this period, into a different period. And that is being done by using the rescheduling function in PPS. So I go again to my graph, and from this graph I select the operations that I want to move out of this area. So I want to just move out all of them, if I can. And I reschedule those production orders, the operations on those production orders. And this rescheduling function in PPS is basically the same as a digitized version of a physical planning board on a wall. In the gray area, we have the original production order information. And on the white area, we have exactly the same information that can be changed. So what we would like to do now is this block of operations, we want to move it outside the first period. Let's say we move it somewhere to the 1st of April. And since I'm moving a start date, I should change the schedule direction to forward. And since they're all running on the cutting machine, we must schedule them successively in the forward direction. So first of all, those parameters that I've set, I want to give that to all the operations here. So I update the column values, and we can see that the system rewrites the new starting dates. And from that point on, I will be able to make a simulated schedule. And this is exactly what the system does. If I put schedule all, it first makes a backup. Let's say the physical Polaroid that you would make of a physical planning board, so you know where to put all the color cards back when you're finished. Then it releases the calendar times, and it starts to reschedule all the operations on that machine. So we indicated that we would start on the 1st of April, so the shift starts at 8 o'clock. It works until the 9th at 13:28. Then without any pause, it continues on 13:28 until the 14th, and so on. So basically, when the schedule is finished, we would have an overview of the original situation compared to the new situation. I can do that by looking at the graphical overview again of those production orders. And on the right-hand side, in the dark area, we can see the original situation. And if I scroll even further to the right, we see those light colored bars, and those are indicating the new simulated situation. So I can reschedule and reschedule all over again without destroying my original plan until I'm happy with my plan and I accept the changes. So when I accept my new values, then at that point in time, the real scheduled plan will be rewritten by the things that I just simulated. So now I have basically changed the whole planning of my cutting machine. And if I close this screen and return to my graph again, and I refresh the graph, then basically it should move out all the operations out of the first period. So I refresh the graph again. And after the refresh, I should be able to see the difference that the system has made. So we can see that all the production orders out of the first period has moved out. So this is just to show how easily the system is capable of doing the capacity planning with just a few mouse clicks. And it's basically a simulation of the manual real-time world that you users or companies would be used to work in. Then it comes to the physical management of the production orders themselves. Whenever a production order is scheduled, there are a few statuses that we can have. Just open a production order right here. So we can have different statuses. So the different statuses in PPS are not started, so it's just scheduled. The paper's printed, which is basically the same as released in PPS. And as soon as some kind of transaction has been processed, the status will be automatically switched to started. And the last one is finished. So in the production order itself, if we start at the first tab, if there is a sales order available, you will have the link to the customer order. We can have the real-time schedule. Just open here the production order that we created from the sales order to give you a more accurate overview here. That's this one. There we are. So those are those 7 pieces. And if we look at the sales order tab, we can see the link that this one has to the sales order that was being put into Business 1. We can see the schedule, production quantity 7, starting date the 19th of May and date the 1st of June. We can display graphically all the operations that are part of this production order: cutting, sanding, assembly, drilling, and quality control. So if we're looking to display the graph here, we can see all the operations as a list and how they are scheduled. The green color here is the internal machine. Exception here is the sanding, sandblasting, which is an external operation, subcontracting, and then the other ones. We can see an overview of the work items, basically meaning the complete planned operation time. And the system always compares that with the actual operation time. So every transaction that we do in the system is being monitored and being calculated. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to set the order to release, so paper's printed, so we can make transactions on it. I'll give an overview of some documents that we have. For example, an order traveler or production order document. All the documents in PPS are being defined in Crystal reports, so you will be able to define your own documents very easily just by giving you a preview of a production order document that we ship out with PPS. So all the informations are available. production order information, custom order information, the material items, and then also the operations itself. If I had a barcode font installed on my client machine, then this would indicate to be a barcode. Then when it comes to transactions in a production order, we can see at the costing that the system has made a pre-calculation of the cost of production. So these are the planned values. We have the planned material cost, the planned operation cost, where it comes to the planned production cost. So whenever we do make a transaction, the system will make a recalculation from the items. So for example, if we do have to release the production, we move in here and we confirm all the items, all the material lines. Okay, and when all the material lines are completed, if they can be completed, because normally the system will check if you do a batch posting, it will check if all the material postings that you were supposed to do are being done. And when not, it will open a pending material confirmation screen. So basically that will indicate that the system would be performing a material posting but was not able to because you went into the negative value of your warehouse or whatever reason there is, and it will keep all the changes in this pending material confirmation. Then from the work item point of view, we can also do select a line, confirm the work, complete the work, and depending on the business logic that the customer has, we are having also different ways of doing the transactions in PPS. Without moving into the production order first, we can do the confirmations from the menu here, which are basically opening the same functionalities that we have from the production order itself. And as you can see, we are able to use backflushing as well from the operations as from the finished product, so that there are less postings can be done manually. We also have a multiple work item confirmation function in place, so the transactions can be done in a batch way. So with posting date, first and last name, and then the production order informations. Or you can use the tool which is called Confirmation Terminal, and this is basically the light PPS user. So you have a done terminal on the shop floor where the workers use a barcode scanner to put in the information and make posting on posting on posting. And whenever the transactions are done, PPS will make a recalculation based on the transactions that are made. So if I go into a production order here, and I look at the tab costing, so with several transactions, all the costings in PPS will be real-time calculated. So you can see exactly in any point in time how you're doing production-wise. We also have a document for that, which is the post-calculation report. So even in a running production order, I can run this report and have a look at the values of the calculation in my production order. So we can see, okay, from material point of view, I'm so far, from the operation point of view as well. And the system even makes a summary of the whole calculation. And those report values, those calculation values, are separately saved in the database, so you can have always a look back on database, how the system or how the production was doing at that point in time. Then for the external work that I addressed briefly in the beginning, whenever we have subcontracting, we can see that PPS will collect all the external work operations. So from a period in time, let's say from today until 1st of May, I would like to see all the work items that go external. So we see this for those two production orders, we have external work. And with external work in PPS, there are basically two operations are performed. First of all, we create a purchase order in Business 1 for this external work. And the second one is a stock transfer. And the creating of the purchase order and the stock transfer are then again standard Business 1 functionalities again, but just triggered from a PPS external work. Then some high-level other features that we have in PPS. I mentioned the CAD interface again. The CAD interface is a so-called flat file interface between any kind of CAD system that's capable of exporting the dates in a certain format. And PPS will import them. And the most recent that we have is for SolidWorks. And the SolidWorks CAD import basically is not only capable of importing a bill of material structure, but even if there are material components in that structure that are not an item master in Business 1, this interface will create that item in Business 1 for you. So that would be a very high relief for those that are into importing many structures that are of a one-off installation products. Then we have a PDC interface, a production data collection. This PDC interface works with external barcode systems, and we have integrated thus far. We have a company called TimeSoft integrated. We have ISCUS integrated. We're now negotiating with Kaba Bensing, which is also a market leader for barcode scanning, to be able to import all the time transactions from these external systems into PPS. Then the counterpart of this function is the PDA interface, and the PDA interface is for the material flow. And there are several chapters. The first one is the MC for material confirmation. So this will give you the capability of using wireless PDAs or other scanning equipment to make the warehouse transactions from and towards production. So towards production for the material confirmations and from production for the finished items. So we have the production order confirmation. So this is basically, in a nutshell, the functionality of PPS. And I would like to